Alright, I'm back off the phone. Yeah, it was about a bunch of things. So here we go. I got Beverly drawn here, and well, parts of it. I haven't done all the shading everywhere, but you can see that things are broken up. If it can get in focus, and you can see like the bottom lip. Really, there's not much going on there. Let's try this here. So there's an area through here, but really you can't. It's hard to distinguish what's going on in there. So except for a couple marks where the pencil actually went. So it might be better just to start working through here, as that's the darker area. Get a bit of a difference going on here, and there's a bit of a difference going on right there maybe, right? And then there's this area down here below. So anyhow, you can see where I've done all this, and I label them all. Here's a 2. This one bleeds into there, so I gotta stop that at some point. This would be maybe a 0.5. So if I have to create a 0.5, there's a 3. This is a 2. So this is a 1 and a 1. If that's a 1 and a 1, then why in the world did I close the gap between the two? Obviously, I saw a difference. So maybe I want to make this a 1.5, or I may want to make this a 0.5. Okay, those are decisions that you have to make and figure out what's going to look better. Probably making this a little brighter is a better idea. So anyhow, let's take a look here and see what we get. Okay, so it transferred down through, and even as I was pushing with my hands, some of the graphite came through it onto it. But that's okay because it'll all erase. So now the next point is, once you have the whole thing done, you're going to get your pen, your marker, really, out, and start working on this. So we're going to go in here, that's a 3. So every once in a while you want to flip back through, or you can separate this all together and just put it on the side and take a look and say, okay, that was a 3.5 and a 3. So I want to go with a 3.5 in here. Let's say I'm using dots. Okay, and notice if I'm going really sloppy, it's really sloppy looking. We don't want sloppy. We want good and controlled. And 3.5 is going to be very close. So 75% means 25% of the paper is showing, roughly. So 3.5 is even more than that. So you're talking 80-85%. And so this whole area, before I lose it, I'm just letting the pen grab hold and bleed into it. So it's almost a black. Almost. So nice and controlled. These dots are truly dots instead of dashes and rushed. They aren't looking rushed anymore. Okay. So there we go. Let's see, I'm working in dots, which is really slow. Dots works really well for number 1 or 0.5s, right? Where you can really kind of spread those dots out. And you want to go right to the edges without making it look too much like an outline. Okay, so if a 1 is 25%, you're probably going to want to go more like a 10%. Okay, and in between the 1s and the 0.5, you're really not going to see too much difference, but you should see some. So this is more like 25%, where I could fit 3 dots in between each dot. No, and a couple mistakes there. Notice I put those dots too close. Okay, so, and I keep going, I keep building. And then back to the 0.5s, I'm leaving quite a bit more space. Okay, they don't need to be very strong at all because it's so much lighter. Okay, and I'm running through the whole thing like that. In the same image, you can be using, let's say you're doing gestures. So there's a number 3. I'm going to gesture in here. Again, very controlled. I'm not just throwing my arm off of the rest of my body and flailing about, throwing things everywhere. I'm still controlled. I'm going to use a gesture in the black areas here. And even though it is a black area, let's say I was using lines, in a short area like this, where's that lip? That lip is quite light, and then the bottom part of the upper lip is quite dark. So let's say I was using lines, especially where it's in this lip, and it's fairly short, you might be able to get away with using, with not using a straight edge, but you might think also about the direction your line actually takes. Okay? And in order to cross that over, I'm going to cross this way and darken that lip up. So there you go. Now if we look at the front of the lip, this section was even darker. So I can either continue in there, or maybe I'm just going to go in with some gesture really carefully and get the front of that lip. And then the top of the lip up here is a little bit lighter. So the top of the lip is going to be about, that's probably a 2. So maybe I'm getting inventive here, and if I need to darken that up, maybe I put dots into the squares on my cross hatching, just to darken things up a bit without going too dark. It's a very controlled way to go. If I try and go lines in between there now, I might find myself in trouble because I'm making it far too dark. Okay, so, and this is going to be dark down here. Actually, I think this was darker, so I gotta check. Yeah, that was darker. Now, if I make a mistake and this needs to be lighter, which I did, kind of on purpose there, because I got carried away and I didn't look, that's when I can start to, that's when I can look in here and go, oh, I need a piece of paper. Cut out a piece of paper in that shape. Or you could flop this page over. It's the only way to really fix these mistakes. Flop a page over, cut out that shape onto a new piece, and then paste it on. You almost don't know it's there at all unless you look at it and study it really closely. So that's a way to go with that one. I'm going to use dots on the outside of this nose. Even though it's really quite dark, it's a small area, so as you can see, it only took me a second. And then there's another dark area, I remember, that's up here that I couldn't put the numbers into. Okay, so you can see this thing start to take shape, but it's not about being only on the outsides. It's about filling in, not just coloring in, making those inside areas really effective. So there's some more of the 0.5. Okay, so you can choose whatever you wish. Whatever you think is going to be the most effective, and think about, especially with lines, think about the direction that you're traveling in order to put something in there that's going to look really good and describe that shape. You're really trying to carve through the shape. So there's a number 2. So maybe some lines going this way. And this is a 3. Okay. And Eva wants me, so I gotta go. Okay. Check in with you later.